Hi, this is Ashley Bottoms coming to you live from Watertown's beautiful Palatial Theater. Welcome to Watch This. You can get reviews for first-run movies anywhere. Well, who can afford $10 these days? And $20 with the popcorn and a drink? That's crazy, not me. That's why all of the movies you'll see here are available at video clubs. So, sit back, microwave some popcorn, and grab a favorite drink as we get ready to take you to the movies.
First, you take a little something from William Shakespeare. Set it in the 1970s. Add a good dose of humor. And you've got Scotland, PA, the 2001 dark comedy starring James LeGros, Maura Tierney, and Christopher Walken. Now, this is actually our third go at reviewing this film. Our first was in the show's pilot, but we had to keep it short, and with all those dots buzzing around in the background, we were apparently giving the viewers seizures. So we handed it off to Corey for a second try. Now, maybe you didn't know, but Corey is incredibly bright, a real genius. And that turned out to be a bit of a problem, because when you ask baby geniuses to redo things, they come out sounding like this.
Being not nearly as removed in substance from its Shakespearean source material as Andy Fickman's She's the Man, which, for the vast majority of you who understandably didn't realize, is actually based on Twelfth Night, most won't need more than a second or two to connect Scotland, PA to its roots.
Not to mention that he could have searched for minutes before finding a cleaner t-shirt. Oh well, back to the film.
Okay, let's try it again. But follow through this time with that pretty little wrist of yours.
Well, let's hope 13's charm.
Spin and pump. Spin and pump.
Yes.
Now that is a honey of a cone. Mr. Macbeth, come out here and get a look at your wife's beautiful cones.
I'm so proud of you.
Now, most people aren't going to have any problem connecting Scotland, PA to its Shakespearean roots. Most of the characters are there. A few have been renamed, granted. Some even appear to be totally new, and nobody is royalty, of course. But the same basic plot and themes remain intact. This is without a doubt Shakespeare's Macbeth, taken from tragedy to dark comedy. Or, to be closer to accurate, this is Shakespeare's Macbeth, taken from dark and warring Europe all the way to the colorful, cutthroat world of fast food. Whenever I mention this film to anyone, the first question they ask is always the same. How do they manage the witches? They manage, trust me, they manage. Veteran actor James LeGros, together with Maura Tierney, best known for her work on ER and Rescue Me, play Mr. and Mrs. Macbeth, two employees at Duncan's restaurant. And just to give you a little more taste for the tone we are dealing with, Duncan had already sold his donut shop. Getting back to Lord and Lady Macbeth, the couple, with the help of some informative witches, or hippies, plot their meteoric rise to wealth, filled not only with the expected self-doubt and second-guessing, but also vegetarian detectives, and taglines like greasy spoon, bloody murder, and burgers, fries, and a side of mayhem. Scotland, PA is an off-the-wall dark comedy that's great if you've never read Shakespeare, and even better if you have.
He was here. Who? Banco. I was looking for Malcolm. What are you doing back so early? Oh, this is Tommy. Hi.
Hi. And now, here's Corey Knowles with the viewer email.
Jack D. from Watertown, Massachusetts asks, what's it like working with J-10? Well, I never really worked with him, he's nocturnal, but like everyone else, I've taken my turn at hosing down his cage. It's fun. The only things I can tell you about him is what they told me. Number 1, never feed him after midnight. Number 2, avoid eye contact or he may start a conversation and that's not what you want. And number 3, never ever mention the name Tim Wilson.
Don't mention that name!
Must be some sort of inside joke, I suppose.
I don't get it.
Do you have a question or comment or even a suggestion? Write to us at watchthis@email.com. That's watchthis@email.com. We look forward to hearing from you. We're back. And now, here's a review of The Fearless Vampire Killers. When I was a kid, cable and satellite TV was just a dream. Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin had just landed on the moon. Woodstock was fresh in our minds. Walter Cronkite reported on the Vietnam War on a nightly basis. And late-night television was owned, not dominated, but owned by Johnny Carson.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
Back then, we received our television signal from a rooftop antenna or rabbit ears. 2 stations, CBS and NBC, came in good. ABC, not so good. And PBS, not at all. Not that I cared about PBS. Now with everyone watching Johnny Carson over on NBC, CBS filled their late night slot with movies. This was pretty lucky for me, as there were a couple of those movies which a cousin of mine and I always looked forward to seeing. This is the story of one of those movies.
CBS presents this program in color.
A few times a year, and always on a Friday night, which was one of the few nights I could stay up late, my cousin and I would watch Fearless Vampire Killers. It was the absolute scariest movie I ever saw by far, and no other movie could give us nightmares the way that this one did. As soon as the movie was over, the torment would start. My parents would send us up to bed, but I wouldn't dare turn off the lights. And when the lights finally did go off, I would pull the covers up over my head and have the worst nightmare for the next 10 nights guaranteed. I tortured myself this way for years. Back in the 1990s, I found a copy on VHS tape, and I got to watch it exactly once before someone borrowed it and I never saw it again. So for the next 15 years, I searched for another copy, always coming up empty. Eventually, I gave up looking. But then only recently, the director, Roman Polanski, was in the news for a couple of weeks. The courts here were trying to extradite him to the United States for something he had done a long time ago. I thought that this could be my one chance, that someone might try to cash in all the publicity and re-release a few of his older films. So I checked, and there it was, just waiting for me. Finally, after 15 years of working off memories, I slipped the DVD into the player, and the movie started. It was like being 10 years old all over again. Fearless Vampire Killers is the story of an old man and his assistant. I found it terrifying as a child. Even the theme music was scary. The sets seemed realistic, and the acting, led by Roman Polanski as the young vampire hunter, and Ian Quarrier as the vampire's son, was flawless. Did I mention that this was a spoof? The movie I'm talking about, that is? The Fearless Vampire Killers? It was a spoof. It was supposed to be funny, but we were so young that we didn't even know the difference. It didn't even occur to me that one of the film's most comical scenes, the one where the vampire son chases the young assistant, was supposed to be funny. And I completely missed the fact that the vampire's son, played by Lane Quarrier, was supposed to be gay. As an adult, I can't help but compare all vampire movies to this film. Does the movie show vampires in the mirror? Does the cross give them enough to back them off? Is the movie set in Transylvania, or does the vampire at least lie in Transylvanian soil?
That night, penetrating deep into the heart of Transylvania.
Well, if the answer to any of these questions is no, then it's a bad vampire movie. I give this movie 3 thumbs up. We'll be right back.
And now, Gwen Ross explains the differences between mosquitoes and people.
Mosquitoes can hum, but humans are the only animal that can sing off key. Mosquitoes want a belly full of your blood. Humans want your life savings. Mosquito vision must be like looking through a kaleidoscope on acid. People see what they want to see. When it gets cold, mosquitoes hibernate. People drive snowmobiles out on thin ice and drown. Mosquitoes have needles for noses. People use needles for narcotics. Mosquitoes die in alcohol. People swim in it. Mosquitoes have no politics. Human political life is so complex, nobody knows who the secret ruler is. Mosquitoes appall conservatives. Liberals agree. Mosquitoes have such a small brain that they can't remember anything. People can remember who stole their lollipop in the 2nd grade. Mosquito mating is dead simple. Humans need 4 shelves full of books and 36 hours of video instruction, and even then it's hard.
You've been listening to Gwen Ross discussing the differences between people and mosquitoes.
Hey, do you have a question, a comment, perhaps a suggestion? Why not write to us at watchthis@email.com. That's watchthis@email.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. Here's Ted McDonald reviewing Hand in Hand.
I assume everyone knows what spoilers are. Just in case, though, spoilers are details that give away or lessen any surprises in a film. The perfect example of a spoiler would be telling you who the murderer was in a whodunit. As the whole point of watching is trying to figure out that on your own, the film is ruined for you. Now, having talked about spoilers, I remember Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
Yes, by gum. And yes, by golly. Kukla, Fran. And dear old Ollie.
Not their show, just them. By my time, their show was long gone, but the characters were still around. And then, of course, Kukla, Fran, and Ollie hosted a weekly show for CBS. Well, not really a show. It was the CBS Children's Film Festival. They'd collect films from around the world and every week showcase one of them, with Kukla, Fran, and Ollie hosting. I remember Skinny and Fatty from Japan. The Goalkeeper lives on our street, from what is now the Czech Republic. The Magnificent Six and a Half, a British series, and The Red Balloon, a French classic that never needed dubbing because it had no dialogue. All of these were great films, all of them family-friendly, and all of them wonderfully educational for kids, opening them up to foreign cultures. Any of these films would be perfect for a review here, which is sad if you think of it, because I'm not going to be talking about any of them. No, instead I'm going to be talking about Hand in Hand, a film that left me traumatized as a child and angry as an adult.
Now look, Michael, you're a big boy now. 7.5, aren't you? Well, now stop behaving like a baby and tell me what's the matter. Have you done anything wrong? What is it? Now, you know you can tell me anything, don't you? Well?
I killed her, Rachel. I killed her.
Now, Hand in Hand wasn't just featured on the CBS Children's Film Festival, the one with Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, but it was often touted as the best or more memorable of all the films shown. There was one scene, and I remember how much I was blown away by this. The boy, being Christian, had just learned the traditional Christian story of how Jesus was condemned to death by the Jews. So when he sees his friend, who is Jewish, of course, my sister, my older sister, blurts out, "Why did you kill Christ?" And with that, the boy speaks and says,
Why did you kill Christ?
And no, my sister wasn't condemning anyone. She was anticipating what the boy would say next. And I was so young and stupid at the time and so impressed by my sister's insight that I still remember it till this day.
Was that magic you did? What? Before you went in? Oh, that's the sign of the cross. We're Catholic. Oh, we're Jewish. We got a Jewish boy in our class.
Now, there's a bizarre twist here. See, the producers chose to cast the Christian boy and his family as Catholic, despite the fact that Catholics were themselves distinct minorities in the UK and often subject to open discrimination. Sure. Today, nearly everyone in Britain calls November 5th Guy Fawkes Day instead of Pope's Day. And in all but a few places, they will deny that it's effigies of the Pope that they're burning, insisting that it's just some generic man in a funny hat. But even with these supposedly enlightened views, today under British law, if any member of the royal family converts to Catholicism, they are immediately removed from the line of succession. But that's today, and as surprisingly unenlightened as the British may be by American standards, Hand in Hand was made some 50 years ago, when both countries were a great deal less open-minded. And here, they were casting a discriminated against minority, the Catholics, as the bad guys. So if you think about it, what they were doing is fanning the flames of bigotry in a film that purports to be a statement against bigotry. Using an anti-bigotry statement to mask bigotry? That's actually pretty evil. And yes, I was raised in a Catholic family myself, but this isn't why I said the film left me traumatized. At the ripe old age of 8, I certainly had no idea what the social religious norms of the UK were, and wouldn't have understood it at all if you had explained it to me. So that's not why I found it so traumatic. I'd tell you what was traumatic, but I can't. Not without giving away too much about the film. Not without spoilers. Remember them? And as disgraceful as British culture may have been, this is still a great film, and it accurately reflects attitudes of the period. We can't hide from the past. And yes, I can genuinely recommend this film despite its bigotry. Hey, we salute the Battleship Potemkin, even though it's communist propaganda, and Birth of a Nation with all its overt racism, all because of their impact or influence as film. So why not add Hand in Hand? At the very least, it will be a learning experience.
Well, let's get along home, eh?
Just a sec. You can keep him if you like. I can? For how long? For good. Oh, Michael.
Good night, Meg.
Hi, this is DeToil coming to you live from Watertown's beautiful palatial theater. Welcome to Watch This.
Now, being not nearly as removed in substance from its Shakespearean source material as Andy Fickman's She's the Man, but in that vast majority, vast is not what I want to say. Being not nearly as removed in substance from its Shakespearean source material as...
Now, here's Kira Barnum with his, oh, I did that one over. I the name screwed me up. Now, here's Kira Barnum with this week's review.
Hey, I've been thinking a lot about the differences between mosquitoes and humans, and you would think that with our bright, big brains that we could outperform mosquitoes in any test. But consider this, mosquitoes can hum, but humans are the only animals that can sing off key.
And now, the latest review from, how do you say his name? Gawain? Gawain or Gawain? Gawain, okay.
All of these were great films, all of them family friendly, and all of them wonderfully educational for kids, opening them up to foreign countries. All of these were great films, all of them.
Whenever I mention this film to anyone, the first question they ask is always the same. How do they manage the witches?